Hey, welcome to another episode of Evony for the beginner and intermediate players. This is Mud from server 948 United Warriors. And today we're going to go over refinement of your equipment. Now, there's two different types of refinements, and that's percentage refinements and flat buff refinements. So you'll see an example here of range troop load 9.5%, and then mounted troop defense of plus 234 points. Now, today I'm going to focus on Queen Boudica, who is my wall general, and I have a T1 mounted meat shield. So for that, I want to make sure that all of my buffs, my refinement buffs, are flat mounted types. And we're going to go over how we do this. We'll start with the basic way, and then I'll show you, where there are advantages to spending a little bit of money, unfortunately, to make this process cheaper or easier for you. Now, what I'm going to do first is refine my equipment. And you can see right now that I just have a bunch of stuff all over the place. This being your first buff, the vast majority of times you are going to wait and keep refining until you get an epic buff. So we're going to go ahead and refine. Nothing. We're going to cancel that. Refine. Nothing. So we got one epic. Unfortunately, not anything that we want. We got a couple of siege defenses and mounted troop load. None of this is what we want. What we want for this piece of gear is mounted troop defense flat refines. So we're going to keep going. Now, while we do this, there is something else I want to talk about, and it's extremely, extremely important. If you're refining and you're not seeing any gold or epic buffs after maybe 10 or 15 refinements, you just need to stop and then wait another day to take up refinements. From a observation, I found that there is some type of random number generator for this game, and sometimes it puts you at a low number, and it's really hard, almost impossible to get those epic numbers or get those best generals when you're opening those chests. So I always go about 10 times. If I see no oranges or yellows or golds, I stop. I call it. That's it for the day, because otherwise you're basically wasting these refinements, because you're always going to get low numbers, and it's just not worth it. So, if there's one piece of advice that I can give you that's held true for me, it's that, don't force refinements. You're going to spend way more gold and gems than you need to. But in my case, I seem to be getting enough epics and orange attributes, to make it worth it. There we go. Perfect. So here's my first gold attribute. It's mounted troop defense 689. And then I'm going to confirm this. Now, when you have one gold attribute, my strategy and your strategy should be to lock it. Now, you're seeing that the refine would cost 2,000 gems. It only costs 0 right now, and that's because I have this wish blessings, which we'll go over into a little bit later. That's coming from that blessing of palace. But what I want to do now is refine again. So here we go. Look at that. You couldn't even get asked for anything better than that. I just got another gold attribute mounted troop defense. So of course we're going to confirm that. Now, my strategy is this. I'm going to lock those two, right? And then, ideally, you would go ahead and start refining again. But I spent a lot of money and a lot of gems just getting 2 epics. So what I want to do is make sure that I don't spend all of my time on just one piece of gear for my wall general. I'm going to go to a separate piece. And I'm going to go with the opposite bracers, which will have a higher cost to refine, actually. 300 gems and 1.5 million per. Now, if you'll notice, I've already done a little bit of work, and I have my mounted troop attack. So, again, lock that. And now my mission is to go for another mounted troop attack. So here's a mounted troop attack at 16%, which I'm going to accept because I don't have any other options. But I'm still going to refine, hoping to get another mounted troop flat buff attack. And here we go. Mounted troop attack plus 800. It's not ideal, but listen, when you're not a high spender, your resources are fairly limited when it comes to refinements. And beggars can't be choosers. The only time I'm really choosy is when I get that very first refinement, because I'm not spending gems to get it, right? It's just gold and these gem or refining stones. I guess I should stop calling them gems. So I'm going to accept this one. So now I have 2 stats for my mounted troop attack at, a fairly decent number. I'm going to lock that for now and then go into another piece of gear. So let's do the Achemenidae. We're going to basically repeat this process for all of the gear that I have until I have 2 rather decent flat buffs for each piece of equipment. Again, my first one always being an epic or gold attribute, and my second one typically being gold if possible, or orange if not. I mean, at this point, again, sometimes you just don't want to spend too much time or gold or refinement gems or gems in general in order to get those higher level stats, right? So I found that if I get 2 of each, then that works for me for the short time, and then I can over time slowly build, that 3rd refinement, that 3rd mounted refinement, and then 4th mounted refinement. Now, if I'm lucky, which sometimes happens, I'll get 2 refinements at one go. They might not be high level, but they're at least flat refines, and I will happily accept that and then work on other pieces of equipment. There is something called the Blessing of Pallas. Now, if you get this, there's 2 things that will happen. Purchase this tier to get 300 wish blessings. What that does is that decreases the cost of gems, when you refine by 2,000. So when you're locking 1 to get to that second one, it's costing you 0 gems. This is why you could be a little bit greedy and go for a second gold attribute, assuming you buy this for $10. You get 300 wish blessings. That's a decent amount of refinement attempts. Now, to be honest, it probably took me 300 wish blessings just to get 2 decent attributes for each of those 6 pieces of gear. So just keep that in mind, right? You're going to be spending money over time. Now, the Chant of Pallas is really interesting, right? So what's important about this one is it gives you 400 wish blessings, right? So minus 2,000 gems. But the more important thing is it gives you 60 chant blessings. And so what this lets you do is each time, here, let's just scroll down to the chant part. So after using a chant blessing when refining, the same equipment without changing any locked attributes, you can obtain a gold quality attribute after refining only 4 times. So chant blessings have to be selected manually, but what this does is every time you refine 4 times, you're going to get some type of gold attribute coming out. Now, is it going to be the gold attribute you want? Probably not. I mean, it's random still, but you get 60 of these, right? So that gives you, 15 gold attributes if you're using them correctly. Out of that 15 times, you're probably going to get the attribute you want. The problem with this Chant of Pallas is it costs $50, and if you're like me, you're going to balk at spending $50, for this. I don't know what to tell you, right? If you're a small spender, and you really need these refinements, I mean, that's probably the easiest way to get it without spending a ton of money. On my original count, I will tell you, before they even had Blessing of Pallas, I probably spent 1,000,000 gems to get, all of my equipment at flat buffs refinements. Super duper expensive, right? You could get gems by fighting in SVS and all the other things. So it's a slow build up to get that many gems, and it goes away in like an hour. So I don't know what to tell you on this one, but the choice is yours, right? I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it or not, to be honest. It's $50. Hey, thanks for your time. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, don't waste time refining anything but Academidae, Dragon, or Civ gear. You're going to thank yourself later when resources are scarce. And then the other major thing is once you refine a couple of times, like 10 times, if you're not seeing any orange or gold attributes, you probably aren't going to see any for the day. So stop, wait a day, and then restart, see what happens. I mean, I know your percentages or your percentage chances vary day by day. So you could have a good day or a bad day. Just don't refine or don't do anything if you can on the bad days. All right, this is Mud signing off. Server 948. We'll catch you later.